Hey everyone, welcome to our first draft video for the Serie A Fantasy season for 2024-2025 season. One thing right off the bat, we're going just under the name Serie A Fantasy Tips this year, kind of moving on from the Fortune Fire team name that we've had for a while. I just want to keep kind of everything the same, and that just didn't really fit with how things were going. I have our league set up here. I will make sure that the league code is put in the description again, but we are going to see what our first team selection goes like. So I don't know too much information about all of like the transfer stuff going on behind the scenes since kind of like the end of last season. So maybe some players are being moved on. Maybe some players are being transferred in that I haven't heard of yet. I have heard of some, but let me know in the comments if you know anyone that should definitely not be there. And if there are some players coming in that you would suggest as well. Also, feel free to drop your drafts as well, and we can see how things compare. But here is our draft going into the season. So starting in goal, I personally like using the cheaper keepers to have more strength going forward. Last year I did start out with Jan Sommer because I just thought that 5.0 for the Inter Milan goalkeeper was an insane price. It paid off. He had a great start to the season. But as of right now, he's 7 mil. A lot of the keepers on the kind of more high-end teams are 6 or above. So I am going to start small. And because Como has gone so deep into the transfer market before the season's even started, picking up some good players, I don't think they're going to be your average newly promoted side. I think they will be a side challenging for at least mid-table right off the bat. And so I do have Pepe Reina in right now. Now, something to keep in mind, Pau Lopez coming in from Marseille. I believe like that deal I think is already basically a done deal coming into the Como side, and he will likely be their starting goalkeeper. So then I have kind of a decision to make. Do I just switch out Pepe Reina for Pau Lopez? It'll depend on Pau Lopez's price. If he's almost 5 mil, then I might not do that. If he's like the same, maybe 4.6, I might consider that. And I'm almost thinking, because I don't really have anyone else on Como that I super want right now, while they do have some decent players, no one sticks out as someone I really want to put on my side right away. They have a hard fixture right off the bat against Juve. So I'm kind of deciding, do I keep Reina and Lopez? I don't really want anyone else from Como, so I'm okay with that being my two spots. Or do I have a starting keeper on both on two different kind of lower quality sides, like I kind of have right now with Di Gregorio gone. I think Crenio's starting for Monza. I really don't know. I'm gonna have to look more into that. But just two cheaper keepers where I can rotate based on fixtures. Like this first week, I would put in the Monza starting keeper while Como's playing Juve, and then be able to play the Como keeper the next week. So that's kind of where I'm at with the goalkeeping situation. Um, Along the defense, I think I have a pretty strong defense. Danilo with his attacking threat as well. I like him there, a bit of more of a premium defender option, along with Teo Hernandez, who's one of the most. I actually have the three kind of highest pick percentage, so maybe it's a little template going right now, where a lot of people have the three most expensive or the three most highly owned percentages of players right now are Teo Hernandez, Nico Gonzalez, and Lautaro Martinez, which kind of makes up the spine of my team here. I still have DeMarco, who did really well last year. He honestly didn't look super impressive at Euros, but the Italian team itself didn't. And with the inter squad, with Lautaro Martinez up front, where he can cross balls into, I still want to go with him for a bit, and obviously I can always transfer him out if it's not going well. Um, Teo Hernandez, I don't know if he's going to be on penalties, but very attacking. Milan side looks strong, so why not have him? Mursic, Lazio seem like they have decent fixtures to start things off, so I wanted one player from them. And I do have Scalvini back here. Unfortunately, Scalvini is significantly more expensive than he was last year. I don't know if he's gotten over his injury yet that kept him out of Euros, so I do need to keep an eye on that. Let me know in the comments if you know more about that. But I did really like him as a fantasy option last year, so I put him there. I might downgrade that to have more money to play elsewhere. Right now, I think I have like 0.6 in the bank or something like that. I can check that later. But that's my defense. In the midfield, I'll start with Dybala. I believe Roma has decent fixtures to start things off until he gets injured. He's generally on penalties. And when he is healthy, he's a great option to have. Nico Gonzalez, I really liked having last year. He started the season off extremely strong, picked up an injury and was out for quite a while, and then came back and was decent again. So I really like Nico Gonzalez for only 7 mil. I think that is a steal in the midfield. One of the, I think, the midfielders that did really well last year that kind of kept around the same price. We saw the Atalanta midfielders, like Koopmeiners and De Ketelaere. They all significantly rose in price from like the 6s and 7s now to the 8s and 9s, whereas Nico Gonzalez, I don't forget if he was like 6.5 or something maybe last year, but he did not get a huge price increase, so I definitely want him on my team. In Ferguson for Bologna. Now, Bologna, unfortunately, I don't think will be as strong as they were last year. A lot of their players are moving on. Xerxes, I believe, is gone. They had a lot of players, but I think that's the main one that comes to mind. Some of their midfielders were doing pretty good as well. But Ferguson was one that was doing well in addition, and he's still there. I think a little higher price point than he was. But I mean, Bologna, they do need to make some signings because they're going to be in Champions League as well. Hopefully, he's still able to do well as well. My other midfielders, Fagioli, after his ban from last year, I'm hoping he comes in. I believe Chiesa will not be with the Juve side starting out. I mean, maybe he'll be a Juve player starting out, but I assume that he'll be getting transferred relatively quickly. That seemed like a done deal before the season even ended last year. I don't know if things have changed and there's been a change of heart since the new management came in with Juventus, but if he's out, that leaves another space in the midfield for him to go. I I don't know if they're still going to use two striker system or not. Maybe they will, but I think Fagioli will be integrated right into that midfield. He's very cheap. He can be on the bench whenever I really need him to as well, so that's fine. And so that's kind of why I'm going with him. I do want two Juve players. Especially they're starting out against Como. This could go really bad for Juve, face it not being used to this Como side that is definitely stronger than most promoted sides coming in. But these players, there's a lot of new transfers coming in that have not played with each other before, so maybe they can catch them out while the chemistry is not as strong at that Como side. Lastly, in the midfield is Ederson. I really liked him last year, consistently getting like 4 to 6 points for a very cheap midfielder. I'm surprised his price didn't increase very much. And I'm going to be happy to have him as my other Atalanta player. Again, I don't need to play him if I don't need. But he was a good option last year and sometimes just got really random goals or assists, like late in games that didn't really matter, but definitely mattered for fantasy. And now the attack. Lautaro Martinez, I think, is obvious. I think so many people are going to have him in their squads. It's just going to matter. Do you captain him at the right time, or do you not captain him and he blanks and you captain someone else who has a good game and you've made up a lot of points on people? But you're playing a dangerous game if you don't have Lautaro Martinez in your squad. And I think he'll be most people's captains game week 1 facing Genoa. Moise Kean transferred from Juventus to Fiorentina after the season. I think he's going to be their starting striker. I think he's a really good player and just playing behind Vlahovic. He's just not getting started. He has the competition of Enzola and Beltran. All of them are priced pretty similarly, with Beltran being 6.6 and Enzola and Kean being 5.0. As I said in my last video, Fiorentina gets a lot of fixtures where they're almost playing twice every single week all throughout the season. So you really have to watch out for which players are playing in which competitions. They're generally locked into those competitions from what I've found. Like you will have players like Nico Gonzalez who almost play just every game, no matter what. But then you have players that rotate out based on the competition. So sometimes they'll label striker, this is going to be our Coppa Italia striker or a Conference League striker, and the other ones are going to be our Serie A striker. So just be aware that whoever you're picking is actually playing in the Serie A games, because those are the only fixtures that matter as far as Serie A fantasy goes. But these other competitions do impact things. And lastly, Tammy Abraham. He's the only Roma striker listed, and I think that he'd be good. I believe Roma has good fixtures to start out the season. But this is my draft as of right now. Let me know what you think. I will try to have more preseason videos, and I'll see you all next time.